Hi again, Mark here from talkingbass.net. So I'm often asked the question, what should I practice? Now, this is a problem for a lot of players of all experience levels, and it's actually one of the most important questions that you can ask as a musician. The material that you choose to work on and how you choose to practice it will dictate the speed and the amount of progress that you achieve in both the short and the long term. One of the problems that we all face in creating a practice routine comes from the huge amount of material available. There are so many subjects, topics and exercises to work on, and so few hours in the day available for study, so it can seem more a question of what should I not practice? We all live very different lives and have very different responsibilities. Some of us may have all the time in the world for practice, some of us have full-time jobs and a full-time family, so 5 or 10 minutes of free time to practice might be a precious commodity. But even with all the hours in the day available to us, the job of developing an effective and efficient study path can still seem a little perplexing. So to address this problem, I've devised a 5-point practice system that helps to organise all of that chaotic jumble of topics and exercises and provide you with a much clearer path of study, clear of all that fog of confusion. Now these 5 points are combined into one single acronym, the word R.A.I.S.E. So by just memorising that single word, you can completely change your perspective on practice and focus on the areas that are going to maximise your development with the most efficient use of your time. The R.A.I.S.E. acronym breaks your study up into 5 distinct areas. R stands for reading, A is applied harmony, I stands for improvisation, S is style and repertoire, and E stands for ear training. Now, by focusing on these 5 areas in combination and in isolation, you should be able to follow a path to being a much more well-rounded bass player and possibly onto a career as a professional musician. So let's expand on those 5 areas. First of all, we have reading. So this is the transferal of notes on the page to the instrument. And this can be the reading of standard notation and also the reading of chord charts. Now it's worth noting that I don't include the reading of tablature in this area simply because the key word here is notes and not numbers. Applied harmony is the study of harmony and traditional music theory but applied to the bass guitar, and this is a huge area that includes, amongst other things, the study of intervals, scales, chord tones or arpeggios and chord progressions. Improvisation is pretty much the practice of creativity and spontaneous composition. It's the study of improvising bass lines as well as solos and melodies. Walking bass lines would be a really good example of improvisation practice. Style and repertoire is basically learning songs and pieces in all styles of music. Repertoire is a really underrated area of practice, but it's absolutely vital to your development. Also, by learning all styles of music, you develop a well-rounded technique and diversity of tone. Different styles incorporate different methods of playing, so something like slap bass would be a key aspect of style. Lastly, ear training is the development of your internal musical visualization and the ability to play what you hear. Transcription is an essential area of ear training practice. So that's the 5 areas of R.A.I.S.E. So the next question is likely to be, what material can I use for practicing these 5 areas? Now this is where the Talking Bass website can be your guide. Each aspect of R.A.I.S.E. will be addressed in the course and ebook releases. Reading is addressed in the Simple Steps to Sight Reading and the Basic Fundamentals courses. Applied harmony is addressed in many of the free lessons on the lesson map, as well as the study book of scales and also the Scales app for iPad. Also, there's the soon to be released Applied Harmony course, the Scale Mastery course and the Chord Tone Mastery course. Improvisation is again addressed in the free lessons on the lesson map and will also be covered in the Simple Steps to Improvisation course and the Simple Steps to Walking Bass course. Then for style and repertoire, we have many lessons on the lesson map and within the practice room for subscribers. Then there's also the upcoming Simple Steps to Slap Bass course and the Building a Repertoire ebook. Lastly, for ear training, there are free lessons within the lesson map and the Basic Fundamentals course. But there is also going to be an ear training for bass course coming up very soon. So you can see that this R.A.I.S.E approach is the pervading theme throughout the Talking Bass website, and I'll be releasing more and more tips and pages over there for helping design your own custom practice routine tailored to your particular lifestyle. Now, you may be wondering, what about technique? Well, technique is obviously an important part of any well-rounded bass practice, but it should be addressed as an extra ingredient that is developed within all of these other areas of practice. As a beginner, you generally learn the basics of holding the bass, plucking a string, playing a bass line with the correct rhythm. But once you understand these basics, you can just start work on learning songs. And this is something that I'd advise for all beginners. Focus on playing music first and foremost, and your technique will develop naturally as you learn to play the music that you love. You don't need to focus on the intricate aspects of your technique at that stage. As you progress as a player, you might start to concentrate on areas of your technique that need work for a specific line or a specific style, and that's fine and an essential part of learning, but the key is to avoid focusing on technique at the expense of other areas of study. This is why I use the R.A.I.S.E approach as the main spine of practice. Work on those 5 key areas and your technique will develop naturally through practical application. If you need specific technical exercises outside of the R.A.I.S.E elements, that's fine, but it should be seen as an added extra, not as a core focus. So now you know what areas you need to work on, and you've got access to a whole bunch of practice resources at talkingbass.net, but you're still going to be wondering, how do I create a practice routine? Now, as I mentioned earlier, organising your practice routine is going to be based on a lot of different factors and personal responsibilities. It's almost impossible to design a one-size-fits-all routine that works for everyone. Everyone is different with different levels of free time. The first thing to be aware of is that every new topic that you work on will need a certain amount of focus for a certain length of time. When you first start learning to read music, it's worth devoting a significant amount of your available time to reading practice. The same would apply to learning a new technique such as slapping. Once you've focused on that area for a while, you'll find it much easier to spread your practice out and cover many different areas in one practice session. When creating a more rounded practice routine, I'd advise combining all of the different elements of R.A.I.S.E into one practice topic, if possible. So for example, practicing walking bass lines over a jazz standard combines all of the R.A.I.S.E elements. We read the chord chart, we apply our harmony knowledge in understanding the chord progression and creating the line, we improvise the walking line through the changes, we add to our repertoire by learning a new tune, and we work on the style of walking bass, and we also develop our ear simply as a result of improvising and hearing the kind of line that we want as we create it. So now hopefully that's given you some food for thought in terms of organising your practice, and as I've mentioned, there's a whole host of different practice resources at talkingbass.net, both to subscribers in the practice room and the courses and the ebooks, and also to the non-subscribers in the free lesson map. So go check out some of that material and look into raising your bass game.